Hello and welcome everyone to our much awaited power packed series of sessions, Power Hour. I'll begin with a brief intro of our guest speaker today. So, today we have with us Rica Roy. She's the sports editor and host at NDTV India, a renowned news channel. And she's been into sports journalism for more than 20 years now. Yes. She has covered sports extensively, or rather, I would say, she has lived sports to an extent where she has carved a niche and has made sports a way of living. So, this time we'll be listening to her to understand how sports can help you scale and thrive in the corporate world. Now, without taking much of your time, I would like to invite all of you to join me in welcoming Rica Roy for this power packed session. And over to you, Rica, now.
Thank you very much, Ruhi. It's a great privilege for me, in fact, to be coming to you, to be coming to all of you at Sopra Steria and speaking about my experiences from the world of sports. And, I decided to call this the Corporate Decathlon. Decathlon is a 10 event contest in athletics. And the reason I put it down to number 10 is because I'm going to talk about 10 ways in which the corporate world and the sports world come together, learnings from the sports world that can then be taken onto the corporate world. Ruhi has already given an introduction of who I am. Yes, I have spent 23 years working in the world of sports. Some of it is related to actual coverage of sports on the television channel NDTV 24/7. I've also worked briefly with TV Today. A lot of it is also mentoring young and upcoming athletes, living with them on a day-to-day basis, understanding their needs, their highs, their lows, helping them along the lines with my learning, my education that I have come into being a former athlete, and also telling their stories. I find a great joy in being able to live their experiences through the stories that I do, and kind of tell where they have come from, what they have achieved, how they have succeeded, or how they have failed and come back. I think there's a great joy in knowing, understanding, and capturing the entire process. And almost every time it happens, I feel life comes a full circle for not just for them, but for me as well, because I see them going through what they called process. Process is an often used term in the world of sports, and by process they mean living that everyday life of a sports person. Lionel Messi doesn't become magical in one day. That goal, that the dribbles and the goal that he nets, it happens through practice. It happens through putting those many hours on the field when no one's watching, when perhaps he is alone with him, when perhaps he is just with his coach, just with his nutritionist, just with his podiatrist, and there isn't a stadium full of people. So these are the little things they call process through which the magic that we, all of us lesser mortals, who don't reach an Olympic podium, who don't reach a podium to get medals, experience, and those, eventual goosebump moments that happen. Am I audible to everyone? Okay.
Yes.
So corporate decathlon. Decathlon typically used in the word is used in the world of athletics, combination of 10 events. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is something, uh, okay, I will just write here. Number one. I think this is the first thing that happens um, when a young athlete meets his or her teacher, coach. It's not what the coach is going to give the young athlete, the first question often asked by the coach is, what do you want to achieve? Where is it that I can help you? What are your visions? So even a young athlete, say a 7 or 8 year old who comes on the field, on the track, on the mat, a lot of them this time around, I would say, you know, in the last 10 or 15 years, I've heard them say, I want to win an Olympic medal. I want to win a World Cup medal, or I want to win something. Show me the path. So setting goals. So that is the first, I would say, that is the premise of setting goals. Goals are of course broken down. There are goals and then there are destination. So once you reach a goal, that goal becomes a destination. You set the next goal. Of course, winning an Olympic medal, winning a World Cup medal for each athlete is their ultimate goal. But the first goal, perhaps, in the process is to stand properly. In many sports, when the athletes come, they don't stand properly. They don't stand erect, probably for 6 months or a year. A lot of the coaches spend on that. Ask them, how are you feeling in standing in a certain way? So those little adjustments with the body has to be done. I think in the corporate world, setting goals means those little processes of the hour, not even of the day. Those little things that you set for yourself, maybe on a post-it, maybe on your iPhone notes, the little things that you set for yourself, the little goals that you set for yourself, not even to achieve through the day, but through an hour, the way you break down your day. I think that matters a lot in terms of setting goals, not just in the world of sports, but also in the corporate world as well. Um, I think I'll have to tell you a very famous quote by Sachin Tendulkar. He said when he reached his 100th 100, which took a very long time for him to come, he said that my goal has now become my destination. So then it was about reassessing himself and moving towards the next goal, setting another. I think once he reached that 100th 100, which was fairly towards the tail end of his career, his next goal was to win a World Cup. And he worked towards winning that World Cup because, when he reached his 100th 100, he was fairly old. For a sports person to play for 24 years, to keep his mind and body in sync is not easy. And he did that. And he did that because he was driven, he set his goals. See, goals are not always going to be set by your mentor, by your coach, by your senior. You have to set your own goals. That's what the coaches also tell them, that I'm going to help you achieve your goals, but your goals are your goals, your mission is your mission. You have to be driven to achieve them. So if you are driven to achieve them, if you are passionate about it, then you will go on to achieve sooner or later. The next thing is, I'm going to write down 10 things, not maybe in the order you would like to write down or you would like to reassess later. But these are the 10 things I think are very important to tell the corporate world that you do, and perhaps you can take these learnings from the world of sports. Having the right mentor. I think for all of us, it's important to find the right mentor at the right time. So there are a lot of mentors, there are a lot of coaches that come along the way who tell you to do this, who tell you to do that, make a little bit of adjustments in the kind of work that you do. But then as the person, see, you have your goals set. You know where you want to reach. Along the way, you have to assess whether you have the right mentor. And right mentorship, I think, is the key to achieving or making that podium finish. So I think finding the right mentor again leads you, helps you to get to your goals, which is your ultimate target. Number three, I think this is something we hear right from the time we are in our schools. There's just no substitute for this: hard work. And personally, even as a journalist, having worked in the field for 23 years, I feel when I get into the newsroom every day, I have to be the best man for my job. And there is just no substitute for that. I have to work hard every day, find a way to be useful, resourceful. Hence, working hard is very, very, very important. And each athlete, as I mentioned, that Messi doesn't create his magic in one day. Those little moments, those little processes that he follows every day, maybe getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, sleeping at 10 o'clock every day, having the right kind of water, right intake of water, right intake of fluids, giving the body proper rest. A lot of wrestlers, they don't eat for 2 to 3 days before their bouts just to maintain their weight. I know before, so MC Mary Kom, when she went on to win her bronze medal at the Summer Olympics in London, for 2 days to maintain her weight, she didn't eat. And that's the kind of dedication, that's the kind of hard work they do for the podium finish. When she came out, the first thing she wanted, she said, Pani do. Because she, just to keep that weight under check, exactly the weight during weighing, she couldn't even drink the amount of water that her body was asking for. Gagan Narang, the Summer Olympics shooting winner of in London, after he finished his medal winning match, so again he hadn't drank much water over a period of time. So what happens typically is after you win a medal at, say, the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, World Championships, you have to undergo a dope test. So for dope test, you have to give your dope urine sample. Gagan Narang couldn't urinate for 7 hours because he hadn't had water. So he was stuck at dope control for 7 hours. But it was the passion to get there, to give it the ultimate. And I'm sure that even they go through periods of lull. There are periods when they feel it's not worth it. They're depressed. A slight injury here and there make them doubt themselves. I am not saying that you're not going to doubt yourself. The doubts will come. We are all mortals, so doubts will come to us. There will be periods when we will not feel 100%. But those are the moments that separate a person who's driven from the one who's not driven enough. So I think hard work, there's no substitute to this. Fourth, I'm just writing it down as persistence and perseverance. They sound similar, but there is a subtle difference. You persevere, and you succeed. Persistent is when you are into a process, and this happens in sports more often than not. You are in a process, you are trying out a new thing, you are persistent, you know that you've done the you've done 49 things that requires you to be successful, but that one thing is not falling in line. It's not aligning, yet you are being persistent. At some point, again, I'll have to come back to Sachin's 100th 100. You know, everyone kept saying, अरे इसका 100th 100 तो हो ही नहीं रहा है, ये क्यों खेल रहा है? Why is he still there? And you know, a lot of times, um, a lot of athletes, they persevere to win medals. We know that, you know, they're there, they are the big ones. We talk about, you know, they are the they are the favorites, but on the podium they're failing. We often don't see what it requires them to be persistent. They do not get, they are, do they not get demotivated? I'm sure they do get demotivated, but that's where they pick themselves up to be persistent. And I think um, persistence leading to perseverance then help them to achieve their goal at some point. And I think one of the key things of being a good sports person, a top level sportsman or a sportswoman, is being persistent with his or her skill, trusting in the skill. You know, a lot of people, when you go through a rough patch, a lot of people will tell you, oh, this is not working, that is not working. But if you feel that there is something, there is merit in what you're doing, there is merit in your game, don't give up your game. that's that's I think that's a key learning from the world of sports. I hope that I'm not going too fast. Absolutely. Okay. Also from here, you guys can tell me if I'm going fast. I think this is one of the biggest learnings that I have got by working in sports: acceptance. Accepting failure and success with the same mindset. With acceptance, I think acceptance, I would say, changes your reality. If you do not accept, the next level is either exaltation or depression. You oscillate between the two poles. But if you accept that this is my reality, today I won, or today I was able to do a good project because there are these ingredients that I have put in. It is not a magic moment that has happened to me. Or if you accept that I failed because it wasn't meant to be. I have done my hard work, I have done my processes, yet it did not come off. It wasn't meant to be at this moment, but I'm going to get back, be persistent with my skills, and persevere. That's when, you know, I think most big sports people, the ones who've won multiple medals, who've won Olympics many, many times, and I would cite Michael Phelps here. Acceptance has been, he has told me that, and Michael Phelps' story is he's the most successful Olympian, having won over 23 gold medals and many more silver medals at the Summer Olympics. He says that his story also goes as his story of success flows with his story of depression, because he was at such a high that those periods of low used to be just so dark that he has even attempted suicide. He wanted to commit suicide when people were not giving him that attention. People were saying that, you know, oh, this guy is able to do this because he eats 1,000 kilocalories a day. Or look, he's a giant. They have pitted a giant against midgets. All kind of things were talked about Michael Phelps. And his story, he has not been suicidal once, but many, many times. And I'm sure corporate career to all of us throws those challenges, those dark moments where we need to bounce back from. But before we bounce back, I think what matters or what really is key to all of us is accepting our reality. We are sitting in this moment here because that's our reality. A lot of us tend to be delusional, and I think that's a very humanly thing, to live in a bubble, to live in the world of delusions. But accepting reality, accepting failure and success with grace is what sports teaches us. Are you able to see this, or should I now write here? So once there is acceptance, there is bounce back ability. They say that bounce back ability is one of the key things in top sports people, because you don't, when we talk about Olympic sports, they say that mostly the first medal in 90% of the cases, first medal comes in the second or the third Olympic cycle. It almost never comes in the first Olympic cycle. From Roger Federer to Rafael Nadal to everyone, to Serena Williams, the most successful athletes of all times, even Michael Phelps and uh, all others would have talked about this factor, bounce back ability. And failure is associated with a lot of things. It could be because of injury, it could be because of that moment the body and the mind did not align, they were not able to pull through the last moment, the last meter. In I don't know if any of you have watched uh, the Indian women's hockey match in the Olympic Games. It was a goal, it was the last goal that, that denied them that win. They could have been on the podium. And it was the last few moments that they couldn't hold on. So it could also be the pressure of performance that, uh, you know, that doesn't help them gain the kind of success they were looking for. But then the one who has a high ability to bounce back and accept those failures and bounce back is the one who ultimately becomes the champion. And I think this is also true to the corporate world, as to what kind of bounce back ability are you defined by? What are your parameters? And I think it's a very interesting parameter for all of us to measure ourselves with when we do our assessments, self assessments. All the things that I'm writing down here, if you just write down on a piece of paper and give yourself numbers, be kind to yourself though. A lot of us tend to be very unkind to ourselves and give markings that probably are not kind enough. um, you will get interesting marks. And I think these can change over a period of time, and you will see how you are implementing. And the more you are able to accept things, you are able to mentally and physically align yourself, not just in the world of sports, but even in the corporate world, the mental and physical. So, after say 6 hours or 7 hours of work, you are tired. What is tiredness? If you are passionate, finishing that last bit of work, you won't feel tired. And tiredness comes from the moment when either you've given up, you feel this is not my work, I am being dumped with extra work, or you don't feel, your mind doesn't feel aligned. Your body gives up. Your mind is telling you, well, this is not meant for me. Someone just dumped a lot of work on me. Why am I even here doing it when I should have been somewhere else? Your mind gives up and your body tells you that, okay, it's time to log out. So that's tiredness for all of us. But if we are driven, if we are passionate, about the work that we do, and that's kind of with all sports people. I think they log out or they retire at a time when they feel that the passion is not coming through. So that's the point, they disconnect from sports. Resilience. I think being resilient is critical. All the more, this has become an interesting topic of conversation in the world of sports post COVID. How resilient are you? Because your resilience will then help you bounce back, be help you to be persistent and persevere for greater goals, for that Olympic medal, for that World Cup medal. And resilience is key to functioning in a corporate environment, because there will be complexities, there will be people who will point out multiple flaws in you. But again, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in your processes, if you believe that I can better myself every day, that's the resilience power. And that will help you in all of these things. And resilience is a very hot topic of conversation today in the world of sports. The resilient sports people have been able to bounce back and win medals at the Tokyo Olympic Games, which was the first Olympics after COVID. And it was called the COVID Olympics because um, it was done in the most unusual way, in a bio bubble. Normally, Olympics is like a mela. The Olympics village is like a mela of athletes, and a Roger Federer would sit with the youngest in a team and eat. In the dining room is like it's not just a who's who place, but it's also like your highest your best athlete meets your youngest athlete. So but in Tokyo, because of these COVID restrictions, they had segregated things in a way that people were not meant to meet. Media was not allowed inside the sporting venues. We were given a place to watch from and be very distant. So everything. So like, some athletes complained that they missed the cheering of the crowd inside the stadium. There was no crowd. How do you adjust to being no crowd? Because they are used to being that last moment, that last point, that leaping in the last moment. A lot of the athletes, the long jumpers, when they in an athletic stadium, in a filled athletic stadium, when they jump, they ask the crowd to cheer, because then that helps them get that little extra meter, that little extra, and they miss that. So how, when you miss all these factors, yet you perform, I think it's also a marker of your resilience, how mentally tough you are. And I think in sports, there is a lot of talk right now of mental health, how athletes' mental health needs to be managed along with the physical part of the training. And I think that's also there in the corporate world, that I hear a lot of corporates give mental health break these days. And I think it's very, very fair, because there are times when you feel that you're fried, and it's all fair for you to get out, replenish, rejuvenate, because your mental energies have to be there at the end of the day. How you harness your mental energy is up to you, but they have to be replenished day in and day out. Like for body, we take vitamins and nutrients and supplements, but for our brain, we need similar kind of vitamins and minerals for our brain to sustain, and the brain basically to give us energy to perform, to function, to go out, be there in the middle when the body is not supporting, when there are aches, when there are pains, when there is an injury. when we've had our worst day in some other, maybe at home we've had our worst day, but there are instances of, we know of our ex-cricket captain Virat Kohli. He scored a century in junior cricket on the day his father passed away. So there are many such instances of having experienced the worst moment at home and translated that low into a high on the sports field. So that's resilience is a very key thing that's being discussed in the world of sports. Should I write here now? 8, 9, 10? Or should I wipe this out? In case of sports, I think this is mostly used for to stop doping by the World Anti-Doping Body. Be ethical when you play your sports. No cheating, no shortcuts. So being ethical is key to the world of sports. Being ethical is key to the corporate world as well, to do your work with honesty and integrity. I'll tell you a story that uh, in which Olympic Games was this? Rio. There was a mother who was caught doping, in a mother who's just given birth to a baby, and timed her pregnancy in a way that her estrogen levels were high while she came into the athletic games, Olympic Games. So once the estrogen levels are high, automatically that is a performance enhancer. So mothers are asked, normally mothers who do athletics are asked not to time their pregnancy around Olympic Games. Because if the estrogen levels are higher, they gain an unfair advantage over the rest of the athletes. Right now, after 2016 Olympic Games, after the Rio Olympic Games, this is being passed as a charter by IOC. But before that, and this is also not an extraneous element that they are putting in the body. This is not like they have taken any substance, or they have applied anything on themselves as a performance enhancing element drug, but it's just that one has found unique ways to dodge the system, to beat the system. And that's timing her pregnancy at a time when her estrogen levels are high, giving her an unfair advantage over the other competitors to help her win a medal. Her medal was stripped off because they found out that she did this. So being ethical, very, very, very important. I think sports also teaches to build a healthy team environment. You work with different kind of energies, you work with different sets of people. And say if you are a person who's working in a team, again, you can mark yourself how good you are as a team person. How helpful are you with your team? Whether you are going to give that pass to the striker to net the goal, or you're going to keep the ball with yourself. Because at the end of the day, not 10 people in the team are going to strike the winning goal, or not be the one who's going to be given the medal, crowned the champion as a result of the process. And in today's day, each top sportsman or woman has a team around him or her. If you see all the top tennis stars, for example, Novak Djokovic, or even like a mid-level tennis star, They would move around with a team of anywhere 6 to 7 people to 30 people. So it's all a team, right? It's all a teamwork. That's one kind of a team. Then there are team sports like cricket, like hockey. There are so many of them, like basketball, volleyball. So these are all team sports. So in a team sports, the dynamic depends on how you work with each of them, because the energies are different. Everyone is different in this room. So how you bring your best into the room and figure out. So I may be short on something, but you fill up or you give me those kind of energies, knowledge to be able to perform at my 100%. So I think a lot depends on how, in what kind of team you are to be able to emerge as a winner. Because everyone in the team has a set of skills that they are very strong with. That may not be true to, what is true to A may not be true to B or true to C. So everyone, if they complement each other, is ultimately when the team wins. Can you read this? Can you read this? You are as good as your last medal or work. So it says that in the world of sports, the coach or the mentor always says, stay grounded. Because you may have emerged a winner today, but you never know when success becomes failure, and you're then you are asked to prove yourself all over again. So every day when you go out and you achieve something, that's your day's achievement. You've won the medal for the day. But then in today's day and age, there is no time, or there is no instance to sit on your laurels. That work that you've achieved doesn't give you royalty. You have to be an achiever, or you have to achieve your goals, set newer goals, renew your work, your processes, so that every day, it's hard, it's very, very difficult, and hence sports is uncompromising. As corporate world is, it is very, very uncompromising. You cannot sit on your laurels, because there is a next one who's going to come, who's going to better your record, who's going to do a better job, or who's going to perform better. If you've created a world record today, another person will knock off the world record. Because with the improvement of science, our bodies, the function of our body is improving. Earlier, maybe 15 years ago, there was this talk in the international sports circles that Indians are very good when it comes to sports with their hands. Their lower part of their body is weaker than the upper part of their body, which is why athletics, the traditional sports like athletics, like hockey, many others, we were not that good in. You may tell me that we've been great in cricket, but cricket is only played by few countries. It's not as global a sport as athletics is. So cricketing nations, 12 cricketing nations, India has been able to find more talent than the other 11 cricketing nations have. But when you look at the traditional Olympic sports, and when you go by the Olympic philosophy of what are the Olympic Games, the games that typically are defined by the three words stronger, faster, and higher. If you go by these three words, India has fallen behind, because we did not have the kind of body. But today, with the amount of sports science that is at play, nutrition, podiatry, a lot of other assessment, we've moved towards that, which is why you see that our results have increasingly gotten better and better, and it's going to get even better as we get the next generation. And a great thing that has happened is that all all of the good athletes that have retired, a great generation of athletes that have retired, are now coming back and helping the system in whatever way they can. Maybe as coaches, as because for good athletes, you need good coaches. And earlier we had coaches who were not trained enough to be coaches. But today we have those good coaches. Abhinav Bindra, who went on to win a gold medal for India again in the Beijing Olympics, if you ask him, he will tell you that I am not a product of the system. That means he's not, his medal did not come out of the support that government of India gave him. He invested, he got a coach from abroad, he got a mental trainer, he got a physiotherapist, a podiatrist, a team to work around him. He spent on his medal to get that gold medal. But today, things have gradually changed and are changing more, evolving more. Because when it comes to, Olympic sporting achievements, they say that a nation's GDP, the GDP marker is equivalent to the number of medals they win at the Olympic Games. So you will see that the strongest, the economically stronger nations stay at the top. Why? Because they're able to invest in science of sports. They're able to give that kind of nutrition, diet, strength training, and hence become stronger in sports. Also, in Australia, where they do extensive research, particularly in the state of Victoria, they say $1 invested in sport is $4 saved on health. And this is like a straight budgetary allocation that they have. They say $1 in sports is $4 saved in health. So I think these are the benefits that sport has, but it is also a very, very, very tough and an uncompromising career. And that's where I think my last line comes from, that you're as good. You're not like an author who's written, a game-changing fiction and that is there for generations, and or a painter who, then gets value of his or her work even when he's not around. Well, that doesn't really help when he's not around to get the value of the work, which happened to Van Gogh and many others. But someone like a Banksy who gets the value of his work, and a lot of other today in the world of art is getting. But I'm saying that sports generally is a very, very tough and a challenging profession, and hence, there's always parents saying that if you're not 100% sure, then don't take up a career in sports, because you never know where you end. But, having spent this much time in the world of sports, I would say that even if you have spent 5 years or 7 years or 10 years in sport, the learnings that you take, the learnings that you have from sports, you later go on to apply in other areas of life, and in many ways become a game changer. I think that's all I had to say. And these are, though they are necessarily not in the order, you can put your order, but maybe you can write down in a little sheet of paper and mark yourselves on this. I, I can answer some of your questions. Will be online questions. Ruhi, it's back to you.
Yes, so thank you so much. I've taken all the, these 10 pointers, and I'm sure I'm going to implement those. Meanwhile, if there are any questions, then please. Andika, one query that I have, so I think I'll begin with that. So in the corporate world, hybrid is going to be the new way of working, right? But I'm sure for sports, it's never hybrid. It's always there. The athletes are always, on the ground. But still, if you could share some insights on how we can prepare ourselves for this hybrid model, as we all are accustomed to work from home and sometimes we don't even know how to work from home. Right. So how to
Yeah.
deal with that?
I got your question, Ruhi. So it's not true that sports is not hybrid. A lot of the so sports training, well, the actual physical training happens on the field, but a lot of the training today, which relates to sports, like your nutritionist, like your mental trainer, a lot of them, even your podiatrist, those can happen online. Say you are sitting here in this room today, and your mental trainer is sitting in Zagreb or some other part of the world, and helping you get trained. So a lot of the coaching with in relation to sports has also moved online. I know, there is a great collection of videos, badminton videos, on a website that has been curated by PNB MetLife, through a program. They do a junior badminton challenge. They have created a website where they have online coaching for badminton, and there are a lot of kids who talk about their grip. They talk about their stroke plays. It's not just corporate that has moved online. A lot of sports has moved online. If you talk about my work as a journalist, a lot of my work has moved online because I do not go out on the field a lot of times now, and do the interviews. But the downside of it, I would say, there are many pluses, because you save the time on the road, you save a lot of your energies, and be at work, you can be more productive at times. But the downside is working in silos. When it comes to team dynamics, you you miss out on that energy, being online in a room all by yourself. That energy when someone can butt in, someone can add to your conversation, someone can tell you, no, 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 not this, that. Those don't happen because we have to maintain something called digital hygiene. It is good and bad both. I think working online also means that because you're not standing up enough, because you're not moving enough, you have to be mindful of your spine health. I think, and this is irrespective of whether you're a sports person, not a sports person, whoever you are. I think taking care of your spine health is key to your well-being. If your spine is erect, all your organs are in place as they are meant to be. So that is something you need to do. Get up, stretch yourselves, be mindful of how you're looking at your computer, how you are, doing your work, how much time you are spending in one go. Just take care of your spine, take care of your mental health. I think these are the things, even in the sports world, the coaches are constantly saying, stand erect. First lesson that even I have heard when I was like a 4-year old: stand straight. Even in school, they say, stand straight. Don't slouch. Don't fall. Stand straight, because, spine health. I don't think in school they say that spine health is key to your well being, but that is what it is. That's where the magic lies. We all have to care for our spine.
Right. But definitely we need to come out of our comfort zones if we look forward to, if you want to thrive and grow. So we have another
Well being
interesting
is
question for you. Yeah, please.
well-being is most important. Whether you are in sports or not in sports, you lead a normal day-to-day life. Your well-being, your mental and physical well-being translates to what you do, because then that is the marker of your productivity.
Absolutely. So we have another interesting question for you, Rika. Some of our colleagues are curious about some tips on diet as a sports person and how we save from the fashionable food with which we are addicting.
Okay, so The first thing that I should say, I don't know about the person who asked this question and how fond he is of, he or she is of bakery, baked items. You know, what really does us good at the end of the day is our traditional food that we have grown up in. And one of the things that, if we are able to eliminate from our system, and this is like, I think, a secret thing that I'll tell you about the world of sports, that they try to go gluten free. If you try to stay away from gluten, having a lot of atta and maida. I mean, of course, I cannot ask the entire ecosystem to completely do away with your atta overnight or your maida overnight. But I think that's one of the keys, because atta and maida does harm to your stomach and stomach lining like no others. So if you can, and in the process, the all the pizzas and of course, there are other attas like Rotska atta, buckwheat atta. So even noodles, if you can just look at having buckwheat noodles, there is plenty of buckwheat noodles available. So one of the things the world of sports does is um, not getting into, and this is not anything about fashionable eating. Just eat your regular fruit, vegetable, and this is from, and I'm telling you this from having had a conversation, just recent conversation with our cricket captain Rohit Sharma. That we were talking about food, and he said, just be mindful that you are having 5 fruits and vegetables a day. Fruits and vegetables included, have 5 of them. So that's because that lines up your stomach also. Try to, when we are young, we eat a lot of different kind of food. We go out on the street, we have a roll, we have chow mein, we have a lot of gluten laden items, we have fries. So if you can consciously eliminate gluten from your diet, that helps your stomach at the end of the day. And if you help your gut, the digestion, all your organs are once again taken care of, the rest of your organs. So then you are not unnecessarily lining up your heart with a line of fat. Heart attack can be taken care of. And a lot of, and one of the things that I have been reading on recently, why have there been so many heart attacks and increasing in the number of heart attacks among people who are between the age of 35 to 55? And one of the reasons that, you know, that a lot of doctors, a lot of physicians are saying is because they're exercising. There isn't a scientific way of exercising. If you are giving 2 hours in gym, doesn't mean that that gym instructor knows what kind of exercise is good for your body, because your body is very different from my body. My body may not want as much exercise as your body wants. So I think we all need to be mindful of how much we are gymming, exercising, which is great. So, weight training may not be good for everyone. Weight training may be good for some people. Cycling, spinning, all of these exercises, we need to be mindful of what our body wants. It's not about, and also, you know, with a lot of people, I know this is a thing that they, and it's not good also to waste, but it is also not good to treat your body like a trash can. Kuch bhi kha liya, you know, just eat whatever is on the sidelines. No, body is not a trash can. I think these are the little things that the people who've done sports in the early days, they're mindful about. And I don't think any of them eat any fashionable or fad diet, the keto diet, the Atkins diet. No, we're all good with our traditional food.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I totally
hi.
agree.
Hi.
Yes, Vimal, I was about to take up your query. So our colleague Vimal Kushore, his daughter is 11 years old and she's a state player. So he wants to know a diet plan if you could suggest a few things.
Hi, it's Bimal. Actually, I have one problem with my daughter. She's a good athlete. She has already played for UP State. I have one problem because she's totally vegetarian, and the coaches said she need to eat non-veg. So, can you
Hmm.
please suggest some more, some foods, something for his vegetarian diet for her? So, can you please?
So, Vimal, thank you for asking me this question. Let me tell you that Virat Kohli is also vegetarian. And I think 80% of the Indian cricket team is vegetarian. A lot of the Indian athletes, Neeraj Chopra, who's an Olympic gold medalist, he's vegetarian. It is not true that she has to eat meat or she has to eat anything that is her non traditional food. However, I have not seen your child, and I am not a trained nutritionist. You will have to see a nutritionist with her. I can pass on a number to you, who will then give you a diet plan for her. That will be a rounded diet plan. That is not my area of strength. I have not studied nutrition, so because she's playing a certain level of sport and wants to go ahead, I would really suggest at this point I can share with you a number of someone who works with a few sports teams, including the Indian hockey team, the Royal Challengers Bangalore IPL team. You can speak to her and get the diet, but it is not true that she has to be non-vegetarian.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can give the number maybe to Ruhi at the end of the session and you can pick it up from her.
Sure,
Sure,
we
sure,
can do
sure.
that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Rico, also, if you could share your thoughts on these, since we were talking about the fashionable food, if you could share some of your thoughts on these different diet plans like keto diet, and there are so many different diet plans. So,
You know, if you really talk about my experience from the world of sports and what I do, um, I do not follow any keto diet or Atkins diet. I have never, because as human beings, we tend to do certain things while growing up. Our mothers have fed up, our mothers have fed us a certain kind of food. We're used to a certain kind of food. If we deviate too much, then that's not going to work for our system because, you know, um, the gut also has a memory and it recognizes a kind of food. All that I can say is just include those five things, five vegetable vegetables and food in your diet and see how it works. And gluten over a period of time. I can't say everyone in this room to give up gluten overnight, but I can tell you that giving up gluten has magical effects. I have given up gluten. The couple of things that has happened to me is I used to have a lot of aches and pains in my body. I have been able to eliminate those aches and pains in my body. My digestion has improved. These are the two direct things that have happened to me over the last 6 months when I have been able to give up gluten. It's not an easy journey, it takes a period of time. But if you ask me about keto and Atkins diet as such, I wouldn't be able to tell you much because those are again, scientifically evaluated diet for individuals. And whether you take it or not, it is really it's your decision. But what I can tell you is on a regular basis, our idea is to keep our gut healthy. To keep our gut healthy, please have those five fruits and vegetables together. Not five fruits, five vegetables in a day. Just be mindful that you're eating five fruits and vegetables together and, not overindulging, not treat your body like a trash can.
and now if we move away from the food, if we talk about not the level of workout athletes do, but for people like us who have a sitting job, a desk job, and we are not usually very active. So, any daily workout routine that you would like to suggest?
Couple of things, if you are on a desk, if you're meant to be on a desk for 10 hours a day, then try create a desk for you that can on which you can sit for some time and stand for some time, like a shifting desk, if that helps. See, ultimately, for all of us who are leading a normal life, again, I think it is key to invest in our spine health, to see that our spine is healthy. So, standing erect is one of the things. Is That's where I think I started from. In our school, when we go to our classes, teachers say, "Seedhe khade ho jao." They don't say that stand in the way you can. Seedhe khade ho jao. So, that's really ingrained in our system. These are the things that we forget when we move on. When a sports coach meets his or her ward, says, "Pehle, the first thing you show me how you stand." So, a lot of us slouch. I think one of the ways that we can consciously rewind that process is do this every half an hour or 40 minutes. When you're doing this on your computer and you've done this for long, sit like this and do this. Tell yourself that I have to stretch. If you tell your mind, constantly tell your mind that I have to keep my spine healthy. And of course, the other thing that I can tell you a lot of people have got direct effect is meditation. If you are able to meditate, if you are able to sit in the posture, keep your spine erect, and meditate for half an hour a day, walk for half an hour, meditate for half an hour, your health is taken care of. Just be mindful that your spine is straight, and you're holding out your spine even when you are 95 years old or 100.
Okay, so now we have a query. What was your favorite interview? Can you elaborate more on what you meant by the acceptance and failure? And that is the last question. After that, we'll have the thank you note.
Okay, acceptance and failure. Acceptance is, I think, one of the interesting words that is forever spoken in the world of sports. Acceptance means you accept failure and you accept victory with the same grace. And I don't know who has asked me this question. If you have seen cricket enough lately, and if you have seen MS Dhoni, the former Indian captain, the picture of MS Dhoni will tell you how in sports you can accept failure and success with the same kind of grace. And I think striking that equilibrium, and this is nothing new. This is spoken about in our epic also. This is spoken in Mahabharata. Krishna tells Arjun about acceptance, and very that's a very oft spoken word in the world of sports, that you accept the moment that you're in. You accept that this is your reality. Today you have failed doesn't mean that you were meant to succeed, because you were not meant to succeed. You've done 50 things, 49 things. You've not done that one thing, which means, and that has led to this reality. So if we accept this reality, we can only change the reality and not be delusional about it. So acceptance, I think acceptance leads to a better self and a better sense of self. My best interview, that's the toughest question I faced today. There are many good interviews that I have done, and I think one of the interviews from which I learned a lot was an interview that I did in 2017 with Michael Phelps. And the reason I learned a lot was because, we see Michael Phelps as the most successful sports person ever. 20 plus gold medals, that kind of, wealth, um, any kind of fancy that you can think of in the world of sports is associated with Michael Phelps. The fact that he had such a struggle with mental health and he could not balance his success with reality, because when he was away from people and he was not getting that attention. He felt suicidal. He attempted suicide time and again. That was, for me, unrealistic. How can Michael Phelps, who's the be on and end on in the world of sports, think of suicide? But that is a reality. And hence, I think acceptance is key. You accept the moment that you are in. Today, you are at the height of fame. Tomorrow, the reality could have changed and someone would have got the medal at work. That doesn't mean that you are going to attempt suicide or take drastic steps against yourself or against anyone else. So I think acceptance is the key to all of it. And yeah, Michael Phelps' interview for me was a great learning experience.
Thanks. I guess you answered Monica's question really well. Now, I would like to invite my colleague Mansi for a closing note.
So, on the behalf of the Sopra Steria India and Sopra Banking Software India, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Ms. Rica Roy, sports editor and host at NDTV India, for such an informative session on learning from sports for corporate world. We are grateful for the time and effort you have put in to come and share your opinions and experiences with us. We appreciate your help and hope to have more sessions like this in future. We also want to thank everyone who participated in the session. Thank you so much.
I'm grateful for being here with all of you at this hour.